Welcome back to Key Factors Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Jones, and we are powered by ReviewMyMortgage.com, the largest index of mortgage programs in the nation. And today we're going to be chatting about a situation that we had talked about last week, but I wanted to get different perspectives from different agents, brokers around our community, just to get different perspective on everything. And that topic is that NAR pesky lawsuit that was once at 1.78 billion, now trickling up to 5 billion, and who knows where it's going to end up. But real quick, let me introduce my guests. I first have Jeff Garza with Redbird Realty.
What's up, man? How are you?
Doing very well. And I also have Chris Jacobs. He's joining us from Neal Neal. Chris, what's going on, man?
What's up? I'm good.
Good deal. So real quick, I want to give you guys a moment to just tell us about yourself, the listeners. They may or may not know who you are. So a little bit about yourself. Who wants to start?
All right. I'll jump on the hot seat here. Yeah. So my name is Jeff Garza, broker owner of Redbird Realty, independently owned brokerage here in the state of Texas. Today I sponsor 160 plus agents across the area. As far north as Abilene, Houston, Central Texas, San Antonio, but mainly San Antonio, Hill Country, South Austin area.
Absolutely.
So, I've been doing this long enough to know better, as they say. Mm-hmm. Been a part of thousands and thousands of transactions now. Just broker and owner, and obviously you're still young in the game and trying to make a dent and trying to help elevate our game. To be quite honest,
trying to disrupt the market a little bit,
just a little bit. Yeah, we can get into that later, but yeah, just a little bit. Yeah,
absolutely,
for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so Chris, what? Tell us about yourself, brother.
So I am an agent with the Neal Neal Team.
Yeah.
We are, I believe, number one in the state for Keller Williams. We're top 5 for Keller Williams nationwide. I'm just a low guy on the totem pole, trying to do as much.
I don't know about that, brother. Every time I look up on social media, there's another first place.
Yeah, I just, I like to work hard. I'm not into all the, haven't pursued the broker opportunities. I don't really want to chase that route. I like doing production. I like doing lots of production.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm running between 25 and 30 million every year. So I like to stay around there and try to go as high as I can, and more just focus on the business itself and how can I help younger agents and how can I help people understand what the real estate market really is.
Absolutely. And I think that is the premise of this conversation, this discussion that we're getting ready to get into. So setting the stage, we all know here that there was a large lawsuit for the past, I believe it was 4 years that has been going on out in Missouri. They have 500,000 plaintiffs that are claiming that they were taken advantage of, basically. They didn't know that they had to pay that 3% to the buyer's agent for the representation. But one thing that I want to bring up is the fact that I would imagine out of 500,000 plaintiffs, maybe half of them bought and sold. So those sellers that then became buyers, did they reject their agent at that point in time? Chances are they didn't.
Right.
So opening it up, what do you guys think about this situation? Let's be transparent, and we're going to get to hear from a broker's perspective as well as a top agent's perspective.
Yeah. So I'll jump on there real quick just to lighten it up, right?
Yeah.
Because I know we're about to get in the weeds, like the real weeds, right?
Oh, yeah.
But let's think about it, right? A collection of attorneys who are going to charge 33% or more for damages that they're able to collect for their clients.
That's right.
We're able to convince however many homeowners, a lot, to be able to say that they felt that being charged, let's just call it maybe 6%, was too much. The irony in the attorneys collectively saying, we're going to charge you 33% on your earnings because 6% was too much to sell your properties and to, protect your interest and to make sure that survey, title, appraisals, loans, everything that's, involved in it was done right. Like, that's kind of funny. So we'll just start right there.
No,
it's a little weird, to be quite honest, So,
one thing that's pretty weird is how the hell do you find 500,000 homeowners in Missouri?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. But, being in Texas, that's what I think, probably all of us would love in this room for sure. Like, man, I can't speak for Missouri, but what I can tell you is in Texas, like, I know for certain our buyer rep agreement, our listing agreement, all of our documents are as clear as can be.
Absolutely.
And we've all been doing real estate quite some time in this room.
Right.
We know that Texas has the lengthiest contracts of all contracts in the U.S.
Right.
We know that Texas has the lengthiest requirements for education, continuing education, hours, et cetera, to even get a license, right? We could argue that maybe it needs to get even more stringent, but it is what it is,
Yeah.
So, but Texas it sets the standard and the bar, right? Because we're inundated with amendments and documents and disclosures and stuff, right? So, I know in Texas, I think it's very hard for a buyer or seller to say they did not understand what they were signing up for.
Yeah.
Not to say that an agent can't do a poor job in explaining it, because I think that does happen.
Sure.
And that's a part of the discussion. I think agents probably sometimes get ahead of their skis, as they say, and move a little fast. And I think there may be some, misnomers or misunderstandings on the consumer's part, right?
For sure.
So I get it, but I don't get it to this magnitude, but I think we would all agree this is a money grab.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't think it's a money grab for those consumers either. At the end of the day, you take all that money, you take out the 33%, you take out all the medical bills for their health and everything else, their post-traumatic stress.
Right.
And they're probably going to end up getting maybe $300 a piece. Who knows?
Yep.
And again, back to the point of, did you then use a realtor to buy that house when you moved the other way? Now, for you, Chris, we were talking before we jumped on here regarding the concept of them appealing this. Totally possible. I mean, what are your thoughts on this as a whole?
So I've been digging into this for several months, actually.
Sure.
I actually have my own personal attorney that kind of advises me on certain things, as well as Keller Williams, obviously. And she sent me a really good letter the other day that she kind of broke this whole thing down. And the appeals process is going to be interesting, especially now that Texas has been brought into it.
Yeah.
You look at the overall concept of a realtor and what their job is. And like I said, we did this in the 70s and 80s,
right?
Getting that buyer's representation, and it flipped the industry upside down. And now you're going to tell me that, well, we're going to take this and we're going to cut this out and force buyers to pay for it. And now you're looking at, okay, how do buyers come up with that money?
Right.
We're already struggling with closing costs. We're already struggling with origination fees. We're already struggling with down payment.
Absolutely.
Especially in a down market. You're killing the total value of the home in a down market. So now I'm going to tack on another 1%, 2%, 3% on top of your costs. Where does that money come from? It's going to come from the lending side. It has to. But how do you justify that? Because now you're going to overinflate the appraisals.
Correct.
No, the appraisal is the appraisal. Regardless of commission spent, the market value is the market value. You sell a home for, let's just say you sell a home for 2% on the listing side and you're paying 3% on the buyer side. Great. The appraisal is still going to be the same appraisal. It doesn't adjust because the commission adjusted. So where do you make up that money? And you talk about the value of an agent. Listen, we all know that everybody and their mother got a license in the last 3 or 4 years.
Absolutely.
But you're also seeing them wash out of the industry
real quick
because they don't have the systems in place. They don't have the knowledge and training in place, and they don't care.
Right.
And so you got the really good agents that, I would consider myself a really good agent. I work hard. I focus on the goal at hand, and we're probably going to be fine. But you've got the new agents that are coming to this that really want to be good, that really want to try, and they're taking the training in stride. They're the ones that are going to be impacted by this. And now you're going to sit here and say that, well, you didn't know, you didn't understand what you were signing up for. He said it. You have the most exclusive agreements in the entire country. It is clear as day. Every commission is negotiable. It's negotiable to the extent of how good is your agent and what's their value.
Yeah.
And I think what they're trying to do is diminish the value of the realtor in the industry. When I can tell you, I probably take 5 to 6 calls a day. Hey, I don't know what to do about this. Can you help me with this? That's providing value.
And sometimes it's not even about real estate.
No,
it's just sometimes you are their advisor for like mental health, every damn thing, and it's good that consumers see you in that light. And that again shows why you are a top producer and doing what you are doing. Now you mentioned something that I want to go back to and just kind of focus on for a moment. You mentioned that we tried this back in the 70s or so. What was that? Paint that picture for our listeners out there, because we know what's going on. I want to bring them in. Let's paint that picture.
So it is my understanding, and I don't want to get into what I don't know, but in
it's okay. We got 3 of us here. We can help.
With some older brokers and older agents who've been in the industry for a long time, this was tried where it was seller heavy, it was listing agent heavy. You handled everything. Well, because of that, they created the fiduciary.
Yeah.
The dual representation is no longer allowed. You have to be a fiduciary because buyers were buying without specific disclosures. They weren't being told everything. Listing agents and sellers are taking advantage of them. So you're walking into, it could be upside down. You could have damages. You could have things that you just didn't think to look up for. You weren't advised to get an inspection. You weren't advised to get an appraisal. What blows my mind is when this is all going down, I was doing a transaction, and I'll leave names out of it, but it was a cash buyer.
If you want to.
No, I'm going to. It was a cash buyer. And I represented the cash buyer, but I had questions about the appraisal value. And I represented the buyer. So naturally, we're going to pay cash. We're paying more than what we want to pay, but they really want the house. It's close to their family. We want an appraisal. And that mortgage broker or that realtor, that broker had no idea what forms to use for an appraisal for a cash buyer. They didn't even offer that. And I'm like, this is exactly why you need a buyer's agent that knows what the hell they're doing.
Oh, absolutely.
Because cash buyers still have the right to get an appraisal.
Yeah.
And you got to have addendums or language from your broker to provide that. It's not a promulgated form. It's just an addendum to the contract.
Yeah.
That's why buyer's agency is so damn important, because if you're going into this and you have questions about the value and you're a cash buyer, which you're seeing quite a bit now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Why shouldn't you be able to get an appraisal? And if you don't have a buyer, you could buy that house and be way upside down. And what happens if somebody falls sick and you need to sell?
Oh, yeah.
Guess what? You're upside down, because not only can you not cover commissions, you can't even make up the money you just put into it.
That's right.
So that's a perfect example of why it's so important and why it didn't work before, why they created the fiduciary clause, why they said dual representation was no longer allowed. That's exactly why. So what are you going to do? You're going to go back to dual representation? Hell no, they're not going to let you do that.
Right.
So where do you make it up? How do you protect
No, you
the
are
buyer?
right. I mean, and you brought up another good point that I want to kind of hone in on is when we had the pandemic frenzy, I'm going to call it, you started seeing, especially us on the lending side, a lot of appraisal waivers. And the buyer's agent and listing agent, for that matter, didn't know what the hell they were doing.
Not at all.
No.
That was a train wreck.
It was all
That's
a
when
disaster.
you realize how many people don't read what they're showing to their client or what they're having their client sign.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And we would have folks submitting offers left and right and making sure they put the appraisal waiver. And I'm telling them, hey, let me review this before you actually submit the offer, because I've had customers very recently and back then to where they were totally unprotected. I mean, zero protection when it came down to this is not going to appraise, just so you know, and you left zero room for your buyer. And just so you know, I can see the financial side of this. They've got maybe $5,000 extra, but you just filled this form out to let them know that you're totally willing to pay over. So all of that earnest money, inspection money, appraisal money, it's out the window. I can't refund that at this point in time. Is it going to be you that's covering that, or your broker that's covering that? So when that was happening, Jeff, you being a broker of so many agents, what was that like for you guys?
We had to really dial down on the training, and we really had to spend time on the actual documents. And you assume, right, that people read. And you assume that people...
It is 2023.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you assume that people interpret writing in the proper form and fashion that it was meant to be,
and
right?
I think that's the key right
so
there.
So it's interpretation, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, let's go through maybe some quote unquote case studies. Let me walk you through, if John does this and Jill wants that, this is how this works, right? Yeah. And so for us, how we were able to navigate for the most part was, again, like, agents, and this is broker speak, right? Okay. Agents always want next level training. I cannot tell you how many times I have been told and requested and asked by different agents over the years, hey, can we get like 2.0? Can we get 3.0? And I'm like, if you would realize that if mastering the basics is all that it requires, right? And being like a ninja with the basics in negotiations, in
I call it pencil whipping.
Yeah, and forming the deal, right?
Correct.
And protecting my client, whether it be the seller or the buyer, with the documents we are all armed with already.
Absolutely.
That's the one thing, again, that newer agents, and there's some older seasoned ones that don't understand it as well. But as a whole, there is a whole collective of agents that don't understand. Our association has a kick-ass library of documents pretty much ready to go for almost any scenario that any of the three of us could ever think of. Absolutely. Because it's already been done.
Yeah.
It's already happened once before. And the association is quick to add it to the library. The Texas Real Estate Commission, obviously we know that those are promulgated contracts. Sure. So those get revised every so often. And the beautiful part is they don't get revised very often.
Right.
Because imagine if they were getting revised every single year, that would be a train wreck as well.
Right.
So like in the last 10 years, I think there's been like 2.5, maybe 3 substantial changes to the actual 1 to 4 on the resale contract, right?
Right.
So it's a matter of education. It's a matter of making it safe in the brokerage environment, team environment, office environment for people to ask questions. And it has to be safe for agents, especially to feel that they won't get shamed for asking that simple question, because if they're asking it and they don't know it, there's 100 other agents next to them that have the same question but don't want to be embarrassed.
I agree.
And so I think it takes seasoned people that give a damn, that really want to make sure that we protect the agent and their license, and then we're protecting the consumer, the client, right?
Right.
By making sure that they're armed with the knowledge. So to answer your question, we were able to navigate through that by really dialing down all the fluff, and let's read this.
Yeah.
If it takes an hour for this particular group of 20 agents that we're having a lunch and learn with or whatever, let's figure this out. So when everyone gets in their car, you're that much better, and you could explain it to anybody. You know what I'm saying? So it was really just a matter of slow down.
And that's one thing that I have always respected about you is the emphasis that you place on training and education within your brokerage, in addition to others outside of your brokerage. You are a trusted resource for those things. And just like myself, if I don't know the answer, I'm going to tell you I don't know, 100%. But I guarantee you bet your ass I know where to find it. I will let you know that, hey, I will get back to you by X time.
For sure.
So shifting gears a little bit, I want to get into a little bit, maybe it turns into a debate, maybe it doesn't, but painting this scenario, kind of using a little bit of what you were saying, is this lawsuit almost devalues the realtor. So that being the case, I play devil's advocate in this situation because I'm not on either side of this. My wife's a realtor. We do plenty of business, all that jazz. But with technology and everything moving so fast, taking the training that you're talking about and what agents know, what they have access to, and then now we have artificial intelligence. And I tell you guys, I have tested this AI stuff, ChatGPT, with mortgage guidelines, with real estate guidelines. As long as you type in the right question and hone in specifically, you're going to get the right answer. It's pretty crazy. So that being the case, it's almost as if they're assuming that consumers are smart enough, wise enough, resourceful enough to do their own research, to do their own homework, and to come to their own conclusions without having that expert opinion to advise them along this process. Now, we're not talking about opening the doors or anything like that just yet. It's just getting them to the point that they're ready to buy, answering the right questions before even submitting that offer. Do you think that that is something that is valid in regards to how we're evolving as a society with technology, ease of access, the internet, Zillows, your open doors, all of these things? I mean, we're talking about a melting pot of, I feel like we're on the cusp right now of big changes, in my opinion, both from the mortgage side, from the real estate side. And I was talking to my partners this past week, and we were talking about how broken the mortgage industry is as a whole. And then we look at the real estate side and we go, well, damn, I mean, they created those agreements, those promulgated forms, things of that nature back when we were still meeting with customers in person, signing face to face and using Xerox copies to get it out there, all that jazz. And it was like, hey, get all your offers in because I'm going to present this to my client, seller. But that's going to take me 24 hours because I've got to drive to them, sit on their kitchen table, present it, explain it to them, all that jazz. These days, are there cases like that? Sure. But more times than not, it's done through DocuSign or Dotloop or some form of digital presentation, including the listing agreements, the listing presentations. I mean, I've heard of people doing Zoom calls for listing presentation. I'm like, are you kidding me?
So I want to go back to what you said about the market evolving. I think COVID changed that.
100%.
I think how I do business is very different than most other agents. And I'm very much in person. I don't bring laptops. I don't bring iPads. I don't bring projectors. I bring paperwork.
Yeah.
I show them the data on paper. And I guarantee you, I'll go up against the best listing agents in the city and I'll get that listing over them, because I think people got tired of the technology. They got tired of the Zoom. They got tired of not shaking a hand. They got tired of not being in direct contact with somebody. They got tired of talking to a computer. And I think you saw that once things opened back up, when everything went nuts, they wanted you to come to their house. They wanted you in person. They wanted you to show the house for them, open houses, things like that. I think people are starting to understand that person-to-person connection is so important in business. And I mean, I have the real estate business. I own a gym.
Oh yeah.
That person-to-person connection, I think people underestimated that, and COVID kind of changed a little bit. So while I think there is a technological side of it, and you're always going to have that and be able to leverage it, but I think the successful agents, the successful mortgage brokers, you very much need that person-to-person connection. And I think agents, and this falls on coaching. It drives me crazy seeing all these spin-off coaching programs and agents that pay $4,000 or $5,000 a year for it. They beat them to death with these things. They beat them to death with scripts. They beat them to death with computers. I don't want you to come in my house and sell me something off some bullshit script that some guy gave you that he said it worked. Well, guess what? He ain't doing it no more because it didn't work. So he decided to go into coaching.
It's true.
Now, there are some very good coaches out there that are still very highly productive.
Right.
But you go and you listen to like Joe Rogan, these guys that have multi-million-dollar businesses.
Even PBD says it. Yeah.
They sit down with you and they have a conversation.
Yeah.
Buyers and sellers, that's what they want. They're tired of the smoke. They're tired of the bullshit from the government, the news, all this stuff. They want a conversation.
Sure.
They want to sit down, be looked in the eye, and tell them, what is your value?
Right.
And I think that's where agents get lost in the mix. I think that's where mortgage brokers even, because like we talked about earlier, you lose deals because of bullshit and fluff.
Yeah.
You lose deals because of smoke and mirrors.
Right.
And I don't work that way. And I think that's what makes me so successful is that, listen, it is what it is. You either want to use me or you don't. But this is the fact. And this is the truth. And when you go the other route and you use somebody else, you're going to call me and tell me either how bad it was or have me list your property or have me help you buy something. It's just the way it goes. Not everybody's going to be happy. And there are some very successful people doing the, technology and
sure,
that's fine, but it's not sustainable because at some point people just get tired of it. They want that connection. So I think there's a place for AI and technology and what's that, Chat GPT. I mean, I use it on my ranch listings. It's great.
Sure.
But you look at real estate as a whole, it's a consumer driven industry. You got to be able to connect to the consumer.
Yeah.
What better way to connect to the consumer than sitting in front of them, telling them the truth, don't give them bullshit, shake their hand and go on your way.
And I'm not going to, I don't disagree with you, but I'm going to poke some holes in this simply because you got an iPhone, right?
Right.
Okay. When was the last time you went to the iPhone store and said, hey, give me that 4-year-old version of the iPhone?
Oh, I don't think I've ever been to the iPhone store.
Good point, right? It's furthering my point is we don't go backwards as a society. Unfortunately, you are 100% correct in regards to the pandemic speeding up what, in my opinion, was going to happen regardless, just because of evolution. In, let's say, the next 10, 15 years, it had to happen real quick for everybody to continue to make money, move their properties, all that good stuff. I don't think, and this is from someone that used to only meet with customers face-to-face in office and preached and coached that until COVID came. Now it's everybody gets a Zoom call. I don't care who you are sitting in front of me and sir, ma'am, turn your camera on because we don't get to see each other face-to-face. I believe that the way that you work, in my opinion, and this is just 2 cents, you would do even better if you started incorporating technology in what you do. And a lot of discussions that I've been having recently, because I'm super nerd, man. ReviewMyMortgage.com loan bot. That's something my partner and I created, and it's going to be huge. And it's all technology based. But the idea behind us going backwards and the conversation that is being had right now is AI is going to replace us. Now, bullshit. It is going to leave those that don't use it behind. And those that do incorporate some form of that, making their business more streamlined, more efficient, allowing you to 10 times your time, so to speak, is only going to benefit you. I'm not saying that what you're doing is wrong. Trust me.
No, I utilize it. I mean, I was the last guy on the team to go to Facebook and do all the Facebook marketing.
Sure.
That's why I say there's definitely a place for it. But you, Mark, would you sell your house using a realtor you've never met in person?
I don't think so. No, I mean, that's a tough question.
But there's a time and a place for technology. And I think it's important that we understand that we are still human.
I don't disagree with that. Yeah.
And so I think you have to leverage technology. You have to leverage Zoom, things like that. We do it all the time. But there's still an aspect of it. If you want to be really good at what you do, you have to know how to connect with people.
And I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think in any sales position, in any, you are having to show your value up front to earn what you actually keep. You've got to have what you have, confidence, that it factor, that ability to say, this is why you should use me. And if you don't, it's not going to hurt my feelings because the next person will. My philosophy is some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting at the end of the day. What are your thoughts on that, Jeff? That's good stuff.
Yeah. There's so many different angles we could take with that, right? I mean, I feel like, yes, AI, things of that nature are upon us now. They've been upon us for a while. We just maybe haven't really been focused on it too much, but I feel like there's going to be some sort of integration where the worlds collide, which I feel is happening right now. Right. I do agree with you there. It is happening whether we want it to or not. But to your point, I don't believe in my version, in my vision, right? And who knows, one day we'll replay this back 20 years from now and laugh at what I'm about to say.
Hopefully we're all retired.
Yeah.
It's your problem.
But I still cannot see a complete world where we get replaced. And I think that's kind of what you're saying, you know, but I also agree with what you're saying, which is it's going to be it's going to be an integration of some sort somehow, right? Right now, I feel like it's early adaption and early adoption for agents. Like you said, man, sometimes we get writer's block, man. How do I write an elegant, description on an MLS?
Sure.
Man, AI can kick out a nice one. If you give it the right parameters, right? If you give it the right, the recipe, and then it'll kick out something really nice, right? So I do believe there's going to be an integration and an adaptation and an adoption into our industry, right? I don't think and I pray and I hope we never get replaced. And I think if we ever are, which that may be even a bigger topic matter, right?
Sure.
Because, before Travelocity, there was Travel Agent.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And we got to be students of this, right? And like most people don't know who, Spencer Raskoff is,
Right.
People don't know, who owns realtor.com, and all these other things, right? And so, before, like I said, before there was Travelocity, there was Travel Agent. And I know, you and we all know that there are certain powers that be on this globe that would love to eliminate us, the broker realtor side. I won't go so far as the lender side, but I'm sure the same energy.
Same concept.
I'm sure the energy is there, right?
It truly is. If you can, even more so on the lending side. I don't mean to stop you, but this will be brief.
Yep.
On the lending side, to that concept there, it's coming to that point anyway, simply because we're pushing ourselves out with the margin compression and everybody race to the bottom. It's like, do you really want to devalue what you do by that much?
Right.
You're not making any money on this deal if you close it, right?
Right.
So at what point do we go, all right, we've got to automate a lot of this stuff to get back our margin that we're not even what we're used to making, just making, Yeah.
No, it's going to be something we have to deal with, and we better start figuring out how to integrate that into our business models and into our business futures. Like, there's no doubt about that, But I do believe with all the intricacies, like let's say government-backed loans. Well, the government will need to say it's okay for a computer for you to put a house in a shopping cart on a computer interface.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And,
sure does.
And I know we're probably nerds of this for sure.
That's a big control thing.
Okay, so the day that we can, as a consumer, go online to some web platform, select a home, put it in a shopping cart, and buy it for $475,000 using my USDA or VA or FHA loan, then we all might have a problem.
Absolutely.
But there's so much in between that I think it will take 30, 40 more years
possibly
before the government, before lenders, before mortgage brokers, before this side, the representation side, the realtor side, before it can all coalesce to where it can be shopping cart like,
where it's even possible.
Where it's even possible.
Yeah.
And y'all know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
You know, with septic inspections, with sellers disclosures, with there's a lot of liability, right? So now, do I believe? Because I've thought about this a lot, as I'm sure y'all have. I have thought to myself, okay, well, you know, a conventional loan backed by a private local bank, they might be the first ones to pioneer. You can buy a house on a shopping cart online and eliminate physical appraisals.
That's right.
You know, because we're going to go to desk appraisal. And then we can even eliminate desk appraisal, because that's always another great conversation, right? What do we say in business, right? Something is worth what the other party is willing to pay.
That's right.
Right? So why the hell do we even need an appraisal to slow down you and I conducting business, right?
That's right.
And so there's so much.
Now, to answer that question,
I get it, yes.
What would be the answer to that question?
What would be the answer to that?
Yeah. Why do we need an appraisal if they're willing to pay X?
I don't know. I have a lot of different opinions on that.
Well, saying that you're willing to pay X doesn't mean you can afford to pay X.
That's one point. The way I was thinking on that is we give consumers too much credit in regards to what they think and feel about what they should pay.
Right.
We're the logic behind what they actually should pay based on the data that's presented. And even if consumers had all the data, do they know how to interpret it? Do they know how to apply it to that scenario?
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, using your example at the beginning of this, you mentioned, hey, somebody can overpay on something and a year later get orders to leave somewhere else or what have you. Life changes. And now they're upside down because at the time they felt it was worth it, but they lost their ass because they didn't hold it long enough.
And they didn't have agents that were educated enough to say, you don't have to do this.
Correct.
And you get people that were like, no, I have to do this in order to get this house. No, we'll wait for the next one.
Right.
And maybe their timeline didn't allow for it. But again, you fall into the education side of it. I tell every agent on our team, you know, we've got 65, I don't know how many agents. And I probably take 5 phone calls.
Neal and Neal?
Oh, yeah.
Man, y'all have grown. Oh, my God. They got into business
there was
the
like
same year I did,
4 or
I think.
5 of us when I started. And I didn't even want to get into real estate.
Chris, how long have you been in real estate?
7 years.
Okay, good deal.
I've been in sales for almost 16 years.
Okay.
And I did not want to get into real estate. I was like, no. And they fought with me. Anyways, but every agent that calls, I got a question. It's in the contract.
Yeah.
Read the contract. Everything that you need to do to take advantage of somebody or to put your seller or buyer in a great position is in the contract.
Yep.
You know, a lot of buyers don't realize, you know, you can protect yourself without an option period, without the third party finance in the objection section.
Absolutely.
The objection section says 2 things, either by this many days or closing date.
Yep. Right.
Leave it blank and let that lazy listing agent miss it. And
go.
now you can get out of the contract anytime you want for any objection to that title commitment up until the day you close.
And that's something that I actually educate a lot of new to the business agents on, that I wish they had more brokers like yourself that would educate them on those things. But that contract, that is your mecca. That is your way to, on buyer side or listing side.
There's so much you can finesse.
Oh my gosh. So
on a contract.
I was taught by Marcus Laffey, and he's an incredible real estate agent that knows the contract. He uses the contract not only to educate, but also to protect, to, in some cases, educate the listing agent if he's on the buyer side. Hey, you know what you signed? Do you know what your seller signed in this case scenario?
Yeah.
Let's go line by line. You maybe should have asked your broker about this section right here that we're actually going to use right now to get out of this contract.
Right.
And it's just amazing how many sections there are that you can use, both advantage, disadvantage in your scenarios.
Right, for sure.
And that's why I kind of think this ruling, this lawsuit, I don't want to say it's going to help, but it's going to push a lot of the people out of the business that quite frankly shouldn't be in the business.
I have to agree.
And that didn't want to adapt. They want to do their own thing. And it's like, you know, going back to that cash buyer, we get to the closing table and the listing agent was like, well, you're charging us for home warranty. Well, yeah, we asked for a home warranty. Yeah, but this says the buyer's going to pay for it. No, it says the buyer's going to buy it up front and you're going to reimburse us. That's not what we agreed to. You signed the contract. I mean,
absolutely.
So
You mentioned something that I want to kind of close with, and we've still got plenty of time. So I'm going to put that on a shelf for a moment. And that's the concept of the shouldn't be in this business, shouldn't be in this industry, thinning of the herd. That's what we're going to finish off today with. But going back to this verdict and how it's going to impact us. We've got broker, we've got top agent, we've got lender. I want to dissect briefly the different aspects and how we think it's going to affect us, including property values. So we kind of know how it's going to affect buyers to a certain extent. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, obviously going in less educated with no representation, in my opinion, it's going to be chaos. Or it's going to be a big lack thereof because they're not able to take the next step. But want to get your thoughts on that.
I think from the listing standpoint, it could improve property values because I don't think buyers will have the negotiating power if they're not represented. I think you're going to see a lot of agents get in trouble by trying to run both sides. Now, people have to understand, and there's ways to list a property and put it under contract as a listing agent without buyer's representation. You do a representation agreement. And yes, as a listing agent, my job, I still got to represent the contract ethically. I still have to do my job. I still have a code of ethics I have to follow. But when you come into it unrepresented, you're going to empower that listing agent to fight a little harder for that price. Whereas you have a buyer's agent that's really good at negotiating, especially if you get a listing agent that doesn't have the experience. I mean, I'll work circles around an inexperienced listing agent. And so I think you'll probably see values go up a little bit just because I don't think you'll have that negotiating power. And I think buyers not being educated enough to understand what they're doing, they're just gonna be like, oh, okay, this is what we do. Yeah. Okay. Then you buy a house that doesn't get inspected properly, or you buy a house that it's been an appraisal waiver. If you want to get this house, you're going to see more leverage on the multiple offers. You'll probably see a lot more bad information being given out. Hey, we're going to buy this. Yeah, we got 7 offers. You better come in swinging. That's not fair. It's not fair to the buyer.
I mean, I'll throw you a lob, both of you. So if we already see a bit of steering going on when you have a seller that is disinclined to promote 3% to the buyer's agent, instead they want to do 2% or 1%, or you know what, our house is going to sell. The market says so. We're only going to offer 1% to that buyer's agent. And you know what, listing agent, I'm only going to give you 2%. So therefore I'm out 3% total. And what we end up seeing is inevitably those properties sit a little longer. Why do you think that is?
You just said it. Every listing presentation I do, the first thing when they bring up commission, I tell them, so listen, I know what my worth is and I know how hard I work. I know how hard I market. I know how my volume looks. So if we go and we show a reduced commission for the buyer side, naturally as a buyer's agent, you get 4 houses, 3 of them are 3%, 1 of them's 2%, but they're all equivalent. They're all similar. They're all what your client needs. This is the one. Is it right? No, absolutely not. But you think it'll work. If you think that's going to work, go ask the builders of Lennars, the DR Hortons that were paying 1%. Guess what they're doing now? They're giving away 6%, 7% because they can't move their product.
Well, that, and they're also not willing to lower their price.
That's it, and they ain't worth a damn anyways.
Right.
But you saw that agents, hey, look, this is an industry where you got to make money, and if you don't, you won't survive.
Right.
And so I think it creates. I mean, you see it now. I mean, it creates natural steering, and look, it's unfortunate. It's the reality of the business, and you've got to be honest with yourself as a listing agent that, hey, look, if the commission's going to take a hit, it's got to be on my side. It has to be.
So that being the case, and this one, Jeff, could be more so for you as a broker, looking at the big picture and what type of responsibility that you will be facing here in the near future, and probably already are at this point.
Right.
But would that concept that we're talking about right now not almost validate this even more so? And the reason why I say that is if we're taking that buyer representation away, which comes along with 1 to 3% coming from the sellers, and everybody always says, well, they're the ones with the money. Well, that shouldn't be a basis for it, but still, would that not be an indication that there is quite a bit of steering going on? And then a two-part question, do you think after this that they're going to start cracking down on that concept?
I would imagine there's going to be two schools of thought. I think, the simple answer is like, of course, there are without a doubt agents who are going to look at my payday here and my payday here. And then there's like this DNA that like this thought that comes up and it's like, we got time to go see those three. Maybe we don't have time to go see that one. Mm-hmm. I can't speak to that. I've never done that.
Right.
I can say that. Because obviously our fiduciary, we're supposed to be doing what's right in the best interest of our client. Right. Yes. So I don't know, but I do understand the concept and I do know, and I have been in many environments over the last decade where I've seen that. So I'm not going to sit here and act like that's not something that's valid because it is very valid. But I happen to believe that the verdict and even the next 2 years of being in, appellate court and all this other stuff, I happen to believe that it's going to potentially give us an unintended win.
Okay. And I'm going to go. I've thought about this too, but go ahead.
I'm going to go a different direction with this. I believe a few things. I believe that agents are now going to have to be better communicators. Mm-hmm. Agents are going to have an extreme positive value proposition, and they're going to have to know how to sell themselves, their time management, their project management of listing your home, my team for make ready, power wash, professional photography, my commitment to you and your wife and your family to do 24 open houses if it takes 24 open houses, right?
Right.
Which are the things that agents should have been doing before this.
100%.
You should have been demonstrating your value a long time ago. And so what I believe one of the unintended consequences here is that it's going to force agents who still want to play in the sandbox that we all play in to level up.
Yeah.
And to get rid of all the, and I hate to say this in a negative way, but it's just true. Like, you can't watch Selling Sunset and go get a license in Texas and think that's going to happen to you.
Yeah, number one, you don't look like that.
A, you don't look like that. B, our property values are not $22 million off the coast. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So speaking for us Texans, right?
That's right.
And speaking for San Antonio and Central Texas or Northern South, whatever the hell we are. I feel like we're in the middle of South and South, right? But I just think that it's going to force agents to elevate their game. I think it's going to have to force brokerages, brokers, associate brokers, team leaders to vet their people out a little bit better.
Absolutely.
Because, as a broker owner, we're as strong as our weakest agent.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I need to look in the mirror and say, is it possible, Jeff, that you have a weak agent at your company? Mm-hmm. Of course it is.
Yeah.
That is without a doubt. So our objective now has to be, in order for us to go to bed at night, are we providing enough that if they are serious, because they're contractors, they're not employees.
Sure, correct.
That if they're serious, we're giving them more than enough
they're
to be able to sharpen up their skills, right? Yeah. We can't force them to come to every training. As a matter of fact, for this recording, Texas Real Estate Commission says I can force my contractors to one meeting a year. So what I'm saying is I think there's going to be some unintended consequences here where maybe the state of Texas needs to get ahead of this and say, hey, if you want to be holding a license over there at Redbird Realty or at KW or XYZ brokerage, maybe the broker should be able to mandate one monthly meeting mandatory.
Right.
So I think there could be some wins as a whole, as an industry, right? The other part to this is like, I feel, and I know we keep on talking about like, well, is it going to be reduced? I don't know about that. And I'm going to tell you why. When you graduate from law school and you pass the bar, you have a couple of choices. Open your own firm with virtual zero experience and learn how to be an entrepreneur, probably first before you're an attorney.
That's right.
Go work for the state, go work for the DA's office, or maybe in the prosecution side, or maybe be a public defender.
Yeah.
Right? And so now we're merging licensure or licenses, professional, jobs and duties with having to make money.
Yes.
And so why do people go open up their own firm? Because they're tired of working for the county, making $52,000 a year.
And you're never getting a good defense.
And you're never getting a good defense.
That's right.
So I think as it correlates or kind of, transfers over to this, I kind of like it a little bit because what does the consumer want? Does the consumer want a clearinghouse of realtors that are on a lottery system?
Right.
And when you sell, you just pick random XYZ realtor? Because that's kind of what is almost like what they're saying.
Well, you know what triggered this? The explosion in the market with 2% interest rates, where every house that goes on the market sells in 10 days with 17 offers.
Yep. Then it made it seem like it was so easy, like it was easy to sell a home,
which is why so many people got in the industry.
Hold on.
Yeah,
it was
easy.
Oh yeah,
it was easy. Yes, yeah.
So we all profited from that.
So to go back to the courtroom, right?
Yes.
You know, so do they want public defender realtors, or do they want Jeff Garza, the Texas Hammer?
And I fucking love that you're bringing.
Does that make sense?
It does 100%, because they're. I think back to your point, both of your points, in this frenzy that took place, the realtors weren't the only ones that were exposing themselves to this easy way of life to make good money. I believe there was a lot of brokers that took this situation and said, you know what? I don't care if you do one transaction or not. I just need to get 1,000 of you.
That's right.
One transaction times 1,000 equals the rest of my, you get what I'm saying?
Yep.
And based on what you're saying, which I believe 100% on this, is these brokers need to be held more accountable to educating, to making sure that that education does convey to their actual realtors, not just showing up and being there. Hey, what did you learn? Now let's go apply it. And if you can't apply it, you shouldn't be here.
Well, I mean, when we talk about CEs, right, continuing education, a licensed agent only has to do X amount of hours every 2 years. Yep. Why don't we need to do some sort of assessment every 90 days?
Absolutely.
I'm just wondering, does a surgeon not have to show that they have polished skills day in and day out?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be, someone cutting on my neck, at some hospital one day and being like, yeah, when's the last time you did a nice little surgical CE? Oh man, I'm doing 3 years from now. Like, well, hell, I hope I'm not, so but I do believe it's going to create and push people to value valuable realtors.
Sure.
Right.
And valuable brands and brokerages.
Sure.
That are known for good things.
Yes.
That are known for producing.
Yes.
Right? Because what do we know about our industry? What do we know about our job? We own a job in a sense, right?
Right.
It's like we work until we get the mission accomplished and then we get paid.
Yes.
Nobody else is willing to go
above and beyond as far as you can, and sometimes not even get paid.
Well, yeah, who goes to work for free and hopes to get paid?
That's correct.
We do. And so I think the word sales gets very, very twisted. I don't sell shit. Well, I don't own it.
And the reason why I say that is, back,
you know what I'm saying?
To your point of, let's call it a doctor, let's call it an attorney. If you're really interested in making a good living and a life for yourself for the future, you're going to focus on sales. At the end of the day,
and you got to be a student of the game. You got to be a student. You got to be educated, and you got to keep sharpening and sharpening and sharpening. Because if not, you're going to become irrelevant. And because it's so easy, and probably all of our opinion, to get a license, our replacement is at the school right now.
Yes, sir.
If we get fat and lazy, if we want to not continue to provide value, so I think it's going to raise the bar for what value really looks like.
Yep.
And I think it's going to expose those who never had it to begin with. And I do also believe it or not, I'll go one step further because I know where you're going with this, and correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know that the pressure is going to apply to the brokerage level. I think the pressure may finally apply to the Texas Real Estate Commission level.
Agreed.
And NAR, damn it.
Right.
I mean, to that point, doesn't it feel like shit that you guys lost something like this when you got the biggest real estate, whatever you want to call them, NAR representing you guys? You guys are paying tons into this thing. They're the ones creating all the forms, all the rules that you have to follow.
Right.
But yet when it's time to go to a serious case, you bring your C game?
That's a tough pill. Yeah.
No, there's no doubt about it. That's why I think if this does go to the Supreme Court, it's going to be such a huge
landmark.
It's going to be a landmark case because now you're not dealing with a jury, an uneducated jury. You're dealing with Supreme Court justices.
Let's talk about that jury for 2 seconds. They were probably all renters, and it took them 2 hours to come up with the verdict.
Yes.
Yeah.
As long as it probably took to make the calculations.
I think what he said was spot on. I don't think it's going to impact to the scale of what a lot of people think in terms of what your value is, how much money you make, what you're doing, because his point about the defense, the public defender, that's a perfect point.
Yeah.
people will pay. I will spend whatever it takes to keep my butt out of jail. If
Damn
I screw
right.
up. I'm not waiting for Jim Bob Thornton to come in the courtroom with baggy khakis. Like, I want the best. And maybe you can't afford the best, but there's ways to figure out how to afford the best.
Sure.
And so,
most of the best will work for free and get paid when they win your case.
Because they know.
Because they know.
They know their value.
Right? So like, I have a jaw crush on Thomas J. Henry because of all the freaking billboards, right? Like if I get rear-ended by a Target or Amazon truck, there's probably only 3 people I'm calling.
Yep.
444-444.
Damn right.
Jim Adler, the Texas Hammer, or Thomas, J. Henry. Like that's because A, they're great at marketing, but B, because they're willing to sacrifice a today paycheck to show you I'm going to get you that big reward because I'm one of the best.
And they proved it.
There is a perfect example out there that I'm involved in right now. It's the hearing plug lawsuit.
Okay.
When I was in the military, I lost hearing in my left ear due to the faulty earplugs. Didn't know anything about it. So I saw Thomas J. Henry's commercials. Yeah. And then I represented a seller on a house in Bernie. And the guy that bought it was one of Thomas J. Henry's lead attorneys. And we get to talking at the final walkthrough. And he saw my band. And he was like, "Were you in the military?" I was like, "Oh, yeah." He fills me in what's going on. I'm like, I knew nothing about this. And he was like, "Come by my office, let's chat." And he told me about the whole situation. And he said, "We don't want nothing from you. Just let us represent you."
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a multi-billion-dollar case when it's all said and done.
You're only going to get $300 in the end.
Yeah, I don't think I'll pay like $6 maybe. But that goes to his point. I mean, you want the best, you're going to go after the best. And that's what the real estate business should be. Yeah. Yes. And I think what triggered this was COVID, the market being 2%, any house can sell. Well, I can do. Well, guess what? I think a lot of people now, I've had much less pushback on commissions now than I did then, because it's not easy to sell a house now.
Correct.
And you have houses that sell on the market for a year, 8 months, 9 months, and you better have an agent knows the hell they're doing, because when the time comes for that to go under contract, you don't want to lose your ass because you've been on the market for a year.
That's right.
You better have someone that can negotiate for you. And same thing for a buyer. The buyer's going into this saying, "This house has been on the market for a year. I want to start here." Hey, look, the market is not there anymore. We need to be cognizant of what the list price is, days on market, but understand that they held on to it for a year.
That's right.
They're not going to give it away. And that's where I think the value in, you got so many agents that are so concerned with being influencers.
Yeah.
And I tell agents on the team all the time, get off TikTok, get off Snapchat, all these things that you're creating, and spend that time investing in your business, investing in your time, investing in prospecting, investing in your clients, because everything you do today should be what you're planning for 6 months from now.
Right.
And they're so transactional now because COVID. I got under contract. This is closed in 25 days. On to the next one.
On to the next.
Everything, the first thing Shane and Clint taught me when I got into this business, the first thing I learned when I got into sales 15, 16 years ago was everything you do today is setting yourself up for 3 to 6 months from now. Yeah. So everything I do, even if I take a hit on a listing commission, I'm going to do so damn good at that you're going to call me next time, or your friend's going to call me, or your friend's friend's going to call me. And agents have lost that concept.
Well, I believe that top agents have that in common, is they're not transaction based. They are relationship based.
And I want to say kudos to you, because unfortunately you're in the minority with where your passion lies.
Agree.
It's very visible to me. I can see it. And I can
your
hear
passion
it.
shines through, brother.
And you think that your contemporaries and your peers are just as jazzed about it as you are.
They're not.
And they're not.
No.
And they're not.
No.
And so, at the end of the day, does the consumer, if the consumer gets yourself, or if the consumer gets, and I don't want to say brand new agent because that's not fair either, but an agent who just doesn't.
It's fair. It is fair.
I was a brand new agent. I thought I was representing my client pretty damn well.
And let me ask you, did you fall on your ass a couple times up front?
Very few times.
And
if I'm being honest, because I was
that?
slow and meticulous and double checking and triple checking, because I felt like my reputation was one bad deal away from being ruined.
And I agree. And I
think I'm probably in the minority.
Absolutely. And that's why that's why you're on this show. At the end of the day,
Yep.
Even when we were new in the business,
we still gave a damn.
And we were honest.
And
if I don't know. I will find out for you.
100%.
But there
that
are
is the
so
biggest
many
thing. I've got 2 1-star reviews on my Zillow. I've got 140 something 5-star reviews. I got 2. I'll never get to 5 stars. But guess what? Those 2 reviews I responded to. I learned from them. Even if I didn't feel like I was responsible, I owned them. And when I go to a listing presentation, I don't bring up my 5-star reviews. I bring up, hey, look, I got 2 1-star reviews. I want you to go read them and see my response. Yep. You learn, you adapt.
That's right.
These agents, they don't know. Let me rephrase that. Some agents in this industry don't know a damn thing about accountability.
Right.
And you can go to all the accountability coaches you want. You can have all the accountability forums you want. You can have all the $5,000 a year coaching. Nobody can hold you accountable better than yourself. Absolutely. And if you don't do that, you're going to fall flat on your ass and never get back up.
You know, one thing I'll add to that is I've always told agents, and I still will say it today, the mark of a great agent is not how many deals you'll take your client to close. It's the one time you'll tell your client not to engage in a bad deal.
That's right.
That's right.
And I don't know very many agents. That's right. If we're looking
agents,
holistically,
lenders,
that will be like, man, this is a really fucked up deal.
That's exactly correct.
You're really about to get yourself in a bind. Now, I understand at the end of the day, consumers are going to still consume with or without us.
But as long as you disclose,
something. If you've been in the industry long enough and sold as much as we all have sold,
sure,
I'm certain you have told a buyer, this is a really bad idea.
Yesterday we did it.
Let's wait. Let's go find something different.
I had a conversation with an agent on the way over here. Great agent. He's new to the business. He's running, $6-7 million a year. And he was talking about this client that was just, the guy was he was a pain in the ass to deal with, and he just belittled him. And I was like, you know what? Sometimes you just walk away. Mm-hmm. It's not just pointing your consumer away. It's pointing yourself away from a bad situation, because you're thinking transactionally. Well, I'm still going to get paid. I'll take the beating. To hell with you. I have a level of self-respect. You are not. I have fired clients. I have fired builders. Absolutely. You are not going to disrespect me. I know my value. I know my worth. And agents need to learn. Sometimes it's better for you and your client, or for you to just walk away, because that one deal that you stress on the entire time is going to cost you 2 or 3.
There's no one deal that is worth losing your license, your reputation,
your self-respect, man.
Absolutely.
Your self-respect.
I can go down the list on the things.
And you probably see it more frequently than we probably do, because let's say you get, I don't know, in a given week, just a random number. Let's say you get 20 people pre-qualified this week, right? All kinds of price ranges. And you see someone that gets qualified, right? $795, but they're shopping $450.
Yeah.
You know that's a really smart buyer.
Absolutely.
That they're not buying at the very end of their buying power.
Correct. In addition, excuse me, I got into the habit a long time ago, and I coach and preach this to my loan officers. If your buyer max is X, make sure you speak to them first before you start giving your realtor that amount, simply because they feel comfortable payment-wise within, let's call it $400,000. They're qualified for 6. That agent, bet your ass, is going to take them to the top 100%. Of the mark, and there's no way to go backwards. Once you see a $600,000 house, a 4 does not look the same.
No,
it just
not
doesn't.
At all. Yeah.
So they're already pushing their payment, pushing what they believe in.
I'm in
initially.
A mental agreement with what the finishes look like on a $750,000 home.
That's right.
Yeah. And I'm comparing everybody else at $550.
You got it.
It's not the same.
You got it.
Yeah.
So that being the case, we can now pivot into, you had brought this up, and it was discussed on the last discussion episode last week, in regards to the barrier of entry into our industry, both as a realtor and a lender.
Oh man, and even as a broker.
Even as a broker.
I can poo-poo all over that too.
What are some suggestions? Because I think this whole discussion thus far has encompassed a lot of the reasons as to why things like the lawsuit took place, things as far as why some realtors as a whole are being pulled into this bunch of devalued agents and what their level of respect is in regards to what they actually do. How do we fix that? Or is it going to fix itself?
Two things.
Please.
As you say that, my mind goes 2 different directions. The first one, and y'all are going to love this because I know y'all will absolutely agree. The real estate industry as a whole, realtors, teams, brokers, etc. We got exactly what we asked for. And what I mean by this is we have allowed our industry to be bastardized on camera for 25 fucking years.
Wow. That's powerful.
Because of HGTV, DIY, Bravo Network. If we're going to be real, all of the OC, all of the housewives, all that stuff, that has a massive real estate component associated with it. Okay, let's be real.
I'm talking about.
The Netflix, and I'm not trying to call out other names, but just people we know, right? The popular names, right? The Chip and Joanne, the $1 Million Listing, the Fredericks, the Altmans, the Josh Flaggs, and all this other stuff. Like, hey, they're all great people. I'm not here to say anything negative about them. But the way that we have consumed the storylines wrapped around that.
Absolutely.
Even pool kings, right? Like, like, oh my God, I got to have a water feature now in my pool, but I live in $120,000 home. Like, yeah, we probably don't need that because it's never, like it's just, you get what I'm saying? And so we have gotten exactly what we fucking asked for.
It's a false perception of reality.
100%. And so what happens is that persona is now magnified or not, I mean, Chris isn't in his red bottoms and neither am I.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying? And he sells a shit ton of real estate. And our brokerage does pretty well. You get what I'm saying?
Sir.
And so we get to be us, right? And that doesn't mean that you can't wear red bottoms, but give me a fucking break.
Right.
Like, give me a fucking break. Like, if you know anything about where we live in Texas, you should not be showing 50 acres in fucking Jourdanton, Texas, or Pleasanton, or Bernie for that matter, in any fucking hills.
Well,
does that make sense?
100%.
So now we've sensationalized and we've made what we see on TV try to be what the consumer sees. Well, when the consumer sees you in your bullshit lease, because you don't own the car.
Correct.
With your nails done every 3 days.
Correct.
At the bottom of some apartment stairs.
With the Gucci purse.
You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like, I'm not against fine things.
No.
I you and I have been friends long enough.
Absolutely.
Like, I know we like fine things.
Damn right.
But I don't need to go flaunt this, man. Like, I don't need the world to know how I live personally.
Well, I mean, you look at in a simple scenario, let's say, and this is real life. How many teachers would you imagine in the past 4 years that left teaching to become a realtor?
Well, that goes to the point. So, like, how did we get this flood of agents? Because it's been sensationalized.
Yes, sir.
We, and I hate to say we, but we as a whole, we have embraced that and not made it a bad thing.
Correct.
Right? Yeah, I can tell you right now, and for any of the women listening to this, I hope you respect me. I'm happily married. I love my mom, love my daughter, love my granddaughter, and I have a sister.
Yeah.
Right? Like, to hell with all the boob selfies and the sell your plastic and all that. Like, man, like you are what's wrong. You are what's wrong with this industry, because then the consumer now has seen you in your real light. And you've cheapened who you are. And so now the consumer says, why the fuck do I need to pay you 6% so you can go get you another Audi?
Which is the same consumer that's sitting in that jury making the decision on your life.
Exactly, which is why it only took 2 fucking hours.
Yes,
this goes to the point where I tell people, like, stop trying to be a friggin' influencer. Like, look, I got a badass truck. I got nice things, but
we all have great trucks. I know we do.
I'm in a pair of cheap ass shorts and a t-shirt. Like, I don't care. Like, I go to a listing appointment in dirty ass boots and blue jeans.
Right.
Because I don't need to show my worth by dressing a certain way.
Correct.
It drives me crazy. I see people, they take these selfies in front of, like you're talking about, in front of apartment complex stairs. Like, you don't own a home. And I'm not saying you have to own a home to be a realtor, but I'm saying you're trying to portray yourself as this wealth of.
I would be okay if that was a requirement, though.
I wouldn't. And here's why. Because there's a lot of people out there that don't have the access to be able to buy a home early. I was lucky. I bought my first home when I was, I think, 22 years old. Mm-hmm. But hey, some people, they're 35, 36 buying their first home. I'm okay with that. And I'm not saying that should be a requirement. I get where you're coming from.
I'm not saying it should be. I'm just saying,
you'd be okay with it.
I wouldn't be upset if it was.
You wouldn't be mad at it.
Not at all.
Yeah. And I don't think I would
now
either.
You're at least advocating for something that you yourself have gone through and you can stand behind by saying, I believe in this.
Let's
I practice what I preach.
So
there's a lot of agents that make good money, but don't invest in real estate.
No.
What the hell are you doing?
Let me jump on this
Please.
Real quick. So we all know this to be true. I was training a new class of agents. We opened up an expansion office up in Killeen, Harker Heights, Temple, Belton area. And we opened up in last week, 20 new agents, right? That we've been recruiting and have finally gotten them ready to take that first step, right? And I started telling them, I said, hey, everybody here knows how easily you can get a real estate license. Mm-hmm. So don't think that getting the license and passing the test makes you anybody.
Right.
Like, that's how I kind of started the conversation. Like, open your minds, let us pour into you for the next 3 days that we're going to be here or whatever, but understand that you know nothing. And I love you enough to tell you, you know absolutely nothing.
Correct.
Right? Like, and take that as love.
That's right.
Because we're going to start to build a foundation, right?
That's right.
One little step at a time, one theory at a time, right? And so I was like, what does it take? You can probably get online, self-paced. You could probably be done with the real estate curriculum here in the state of Texas in 21 days. I had 10 agents raise their hand and say, no.
10.
You could probably do it in 10 to 12 if you did day, night, weekend, self-paced, and you were, drinking energy drinks and did 4 hours sleeps for 10 days. And I'm like, no shit. Like, I mean, I remember it was like 21 days, like back in the, like
Adderall, baby.
Yeah. And they're like, no, you can get that shit done. Right. And I'm like, okay, cool. Right. So then I had posted something on my Facebook the other day. I was like, how sad is it that, I mean, I think we probably all love our barbers, right? We're all hairy dudes, and
I love myself.
I love my barber. You do your own thing, right?
Yeah.
But it's like in the state of Texas, a barber needs over 1,000 hours to get a license to cut my hair.
That's right.
But 180 in the state of Texas and pass a test, right? So that's one thing. I think the barrier to entry.
Great point.
100%.
God, that's like great point.
All these estheticians, everyone's doing Botox and lip fillers. Hey, you know what? I got respect for them. You know why? They're putting in like 1,500, 1,800 class
just to get the
class hours. Not this bullshit. Do it at your home,
right?
Not this take it remotely when you can. These are proctored and, over with oversight, right? That kind of thing, right? So, to be an esthetician, to be a hairdresser, to be a hairstylist, to be a barber, like, wow, the state got it maybe right. Maybe it's a little extreme there. I don't know because I'm not in that industry, but it's 10 to 12 to 15 times greater than what it takes us to be. And we know the MLO.
Yeah.
I mean, can I say it?
Say it.
I mean, we can get the classes done in 2.5 days at Champions or whatever, any kind.
And they give you the fucking answers.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And so it's like, oh my God, right?
Yes.
So there's that issue, right? And then the brokers, right? Like this is where I drop a bomb.
And before you go further,
yeah.
Compare exactly what Jeff is talking about right now to the commission that is made in those professions we're talking about, as opposed to a realtor that is making their 3%, 2%, 1%. Those folks going through all of that schooling just to get the piece of paper to be able to stick their first injection in are making 1/10 of what a realtor could make.
I mean, maybe even way less than that. Crazy? You know what I'm saying? And so here's the other part, right? And a lot of people, I find this interesting that people don't know it, but if they're not necessarily looking for that, it wouldn't matter to them. But, when we're training up new agents and trying to get them up the game and stuff, and we have these very fluid conversations at our brokerage, right? It's always a conversation, right? And I'm like, who here wants to be a broker one day? I'd love to help you.
Right.
I'd love to help you get to your goal, because in my history, I didn't remember anyone saying, hey, if you want to be a broker, I want to help you and I want to hold your hand. I don't remember that.
No,
okay.
Same.
But I was like,
back when we were coming up, it was more so this.
Yeah. Just produce. Right. And so, with knowing that and that being my background, I was like, you know what? Hey, if y'all ever want that, let's have that conversation. But let me go ahead and let the air out of the balloon right now.
Right.
So you understand what it takes to get that.
Yeah.
And they're like, ooh, right. Like they're like, shit, I'm gonna take some notes.
Yep.
I'm okay, here we go. He's about to drop it on me, like how to become a broker, right? And they're writing that shit down. And I said, the test you just passed last week? They're like, yeah. Add 10 more brokerage specific questions, and that's the test. And they're like that's biggest letdown,
right?
The biggest buzzkill you've ever seen with eager agents, right? And I don't do that to be, funny or anything. I'm just like, you understand, like a broker license,
right?
Don't mean shit.
Right.
Like if we're being honest,
this is exactly why I've done all my classes. I got all my points. I won't take the test.
Right.
For what?
I mean,
I see it.
And the only answer is like because I just want to open up my own shop. But a lot of people don't want to open up a shop because of different other shops that you can be associated with that brokerage or company.
Absolutely.
For way less than it costs to start a shop.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's so, there's a lot of,
well, they don't know how to run a business.
Well, that's the thing, so there's a lot of, ebbs and flows to that. Right.
Yes,
but at the end of the day, like a broker, okay, so I'm a broker, right? Like I'm either fucking ethical or I'm not.
That's right.
I'm either professional or I'm not. I'm either moral in my dealings or I'm not.
And the way that I believe it is coming down to a bigger conundrum is the old formula for brokerages taking a percentage versus fee-based versus now pyramid scheme-based versus... It's almost a shame to
I might be the wrong guy to ask.
No. This isn't even a question. This is not even a question. This is just there's so many different ways that they're trying to split this pie to keep what they've built or what they're trying to build instead of adding value and standing behind your value.
Yes.
I mean, you're one that wholeheartedly, I've seen it. I've lived it.
Yeah. And I appreciate that because
it's true.
We watch each other. We see each other 100%.
There aren't many out there like that. There are many brokers. I
completely agree.
There are many realtors that have never spoken to their broker.
That's so I can speak on that if you want me to.
Please.
And we come from great shops, I think I couldn't respect Shane Neal more.
Yeah.
I mean, he is
easy.
I don't want to gas him up too much, but great people that are not afraid to show you how to grow yourself, right? And maybe not talk realtor, but talk entrepreneur.
Correct.
Right? Because at the end of the day, your license is a license for you to operate a business in the real estate space.
That's correct.
Right?
You don't get a W-2.
Right. So that's one of the things that I think should be a required training at the TREC. I think you should have to take 30, 40, 60 hours of business ownership, P&L, how to do taxes, business structures, DBAs, LLCs, filings, et cetera, because we know they come out as novices and they're like, hey, so when do I get a paycheck? And I'm like, what do you know what a 1099 is? Like, let's reel that back,
It's true.
So you're hitting on a couple of things here. So in the world of brokerages and sponsorship, I guess kind of that's where we're at.
Correct.
Back in the good old day, in the, let's just call it in the 80s and 90s, there wasn't very many options, historically speaking.
Correct.
The option was either a local mom and pop or a big name franchise,
and there were only maybe 5 of them.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah. And those big names that we've all grown up, we know what they are, Remax, KW, Century 21, et cetera, right? All well respected in their own right in some capacity or another, right? Those were the big names back in the 80s and 90s, right? Let's just say, and I'm not just saying specific years, but in that area. Well, this was before consumers could pick their realtor or pick a home online to look at.
Correct.
So then what happened was it almost ran like car dealerships where the consumer had to get to the dealership, get to their next sales guy. You were the guy, in your tie, ready to receive them, and you were taking the up, and then you could go show them on the lot, right? So that was like what real estate brokerages looked like back in the 80s and 90s. Yes, you did want to hold your license or hang your license, not with the independent and not with the cloud-based.
Sure.
You wanted to hang it with the biggest brick and mortar back in the day because the biggest brick and mortar had the biggest budget for newspaper ads.
Correct.
Anybody know what that is? The newspaper?
Yes,
they had the biggest budget for billboards. They had the biggest budget for radio ads and TV ads, and also to be able to sponsor like the CYO and the local Little League and the pie eating contest on the 4th of July.
Correct.
So that's why you would want to go with the big company at that time, plus other things, right? Name recognitions, et cetera, et cetera. So then let's go to 2000. In 2000, that's what I call like the WebMD day. That's when it became okay to go research this little rash on my piece of my body somewhere.
That's right.
And I want to know like what it was, self-diagnose, right? So WebMD opened up this world of like, it's okay to not go get a consult from the professional first. And it's okay to start doing some investigative research if you want to, right?
AKA shameless plug, reviewmymortgage.com.
Yeah, 100%. And then obviously the travel agent is extinct. Yeah, I know there's some travel agents in
but
it, but generally speaking, that industry as a whole has gone extinct.
Yeah.
And we saw it happen, right? And so then, the advent of like, Zillow and realtor.com and homes.com and all these other ones, right? Now we're fast forwarding throughout the 2000s, right? Where it became acceptable to be able to look at homes online and then just raise your hand and say, hey, I want to go look at a home. And so what has happened over the last 20, 30, 40 years is the way people consume listings and homes for sale online, very fast paced. And, at the scroll of a thumb, what has happened is it hasn't rewarded good brokerage behavior or good brokerage training or good agent behavior, or it hasn't rewarded knowledgeable and educated realtors. It has rewarded speed to lead, the fastest to the draw, and basically what I call Pop-Tart agent.
Ooh, I like that.
Pop-Tart agent is I want it warm and I want it fast. And if you can't do it, I don't give a shit if you've sold 30 million, which they should, But I don't give a shit, because if he can go open up a door and he don't know shit about real estate,
Correct.
he was the first one that opened the door.
That's right.
So, and I just went through a whole history.
That's true.
I could talk about that for hours, because I have looked at that. And so then the last piece to this, before I'll shut up, but the last piece to this is this. The old brokerage models, let's call them back in the 80s and 90s, because if you do the research, they were almost 50-50 propositions.
Sure.
Because if I had the overhead and I had the brick and mortar and I had the marketing budget, and all I had to do was make sure that I was feeding y'all leads and ups that were walking in,
right,
then everything that we're doing is a partnership. Mm-hmm. And so if I'm going to pay for all this and you get the benefit, then we're splitting these commissions 50-50.
That was their value
right?
proposition.
Then the brokers started to realize that agents were starting to realize, like, hey, that's a little bit more than we'd like to split. Mm-hmm. So then they went to, a 60-40 version. Then they went to a 70-30. Mm-hmm. Then over the, late 90s, early 2000s, then you started to see some interesting 80-20s. There's some 90-10s, right? And then there was like this whole like mind thing, right? Where it was like, leave your production cap brokerage and get rid of that and replace them with a flat fee. Well, to a flat fee to an agent who only closes 3 or 4 deals a year, that seems right. But when you were closing 100, like maybe back in one of my better years,
right,
100 times a 450 a flat fee per file, that's $45,000.
Yeah. So
when you sell the way y'all do, the volume doesn't add up at a flat fee.
Correct.
And so then you start getting creative with, and they're all definitely smart and revolutionary to a degree. The EXP made it okay to now not go to office meetings.
Right.
And seasoned agents come
Virtual
over here.
everything.
We're not going to shame you for having to go to office meetings anymore or sales meetings. You can just do your real estate in the cloud. And so, and EXP has been around, long enough.
Absolutely.
Now, like the model is proven, right? And so it does work. Now, I will say, like, do I think that a brand new agent should go to a cloud-based brokerage where there's no belly to belly? In my opinion, no.
And what it has caused to happen?
Not that the brokerage is bad, but I don't think that's a good delivery of support and training.
And I'll say this before I talk about my point here, but on the previous episode or discussion that we had, they were talking about, and this was a great suggestion, almost like an appraiser situation, to where if you want to be a realtor,
apprentice,
you need to apprentice for a little while. Not getting paid, or if the person you're apprenticing wants to break you off a little bit, no problem. But at the end of the day, you need to put in some work, go through it, and feel what it's like to find out if this is something that you're willing and able to do.
That's one of the biggest arguments for teams.
Yes.
Because teams can create that environment.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even though you were like, well, can't the brokerage? Well, no, a team is a little bit different, because it's like a mini brokerage where I've got a mini leader.
Correct.
That wants us 3 to win,
things their
or
way,
us 5 to win,
That's
based
right.
on how we cut out, carve this cookie, if you will,
So now to this quick point that kind of sums up what you're talking about in my opinion, a pretty powerful way, is what has ended up happening in this pre-pandemic, post-pandemic world is you have consumers that used to go directly to realtors in order to buy a home that are now at a rate of 22% increase coming to lenders first, simply because you guys as brokers are having to find a way to penny pinch and do all these other things, and are not marketing forefront commercials, ads, things that realtors used to do, which from the perception of a borrower, a consumer buying, that's who I need to go to buy a house as a realtor, because that's what's being shoved down my throat every which way I look. Now you've got a point to where lenders are out there just as much as realtors, and buyers that we don't, I think, give enough credit to are realizing that they need to get their options before they even put the foot into the door to find out what home they're going to buy. Mm-hmm. So I looked it up. That was 2 days ago. I was giving a presentation, and it was like, okay, I wonder what the conversion is these days. It used to be 2% and is now 22%. Consumers go directly to the lender, get their approval, get their options, and then ask for a referral to a realtor. Mm-hmm. Crazy, huh? It's like, whoa.
I like it.
I can see it continuing to climb too.
Yeah, I like it.
I agree.
I mean, I built my entire model. Obviously, I'm on a team, but I kind of do things a little bit differently.
Sure.
And I built my entire model off of what you were just talking about. You go into Lavernia, or Bernie, you're going to see my face everywhere, especially Lavernia. That's where I live. It's my hometown. My face is everywhere. I'm involved in every aspect of the community, education foundation, stock show. I mean, I'm at the auctions. I pour thousands into the community. And I think that's what makes an agent so successful and a lender so successful is being the face, being constantly available, being out there. I'll answer my phone till 11:30 at night. I don't care if I'm drinking beer in my garage.
Right.
And you get these agents that think because of the pandemic, pre-pandemic, pandemic, well, I don't have to be like that.
Right.
And so it creates this distrust because they're like, well, you weren't available. Like you said, speed to the lead. First one that opens the door, that's the one that's gonna get my business. That ain't always the best way.
Right.
And, but if you're not available, that's what it's going to. People are impatient. My dad used to tell me something a long time ago that an average person is smart, brilliant, but people are stupid. And it's crowdthink. You see it every day on the news. It's crowdthink. So everybody thinks, I'll just call the first person. And that's what this is going to create is they're going to call the first person. That person's going to be the listing agent. And you're not going to be able to do what you need to do to get that house for what you need to get it for. So it just goes into pouring the value in. Shane and Clint taught me from the day one, be available. Don't sell the house, sell yourself.
Yes.
The house will come. Right. Sell yourself, because if it's not this house, it'll be the next house. But you don't want it to be, if it's not this agent, it'll be the next agent.
That's right.
And I think people got away from that. And I think it's what created this problem that we're not even a problem, because I don't think we'll see the ramifications that everybody is at the forefront of their mind. I think everybody panics immediately as soon as they see it. Oh my God, I'm getting out of the business. It's going to collapse. How many people in the last 90 days
60,000 agents.
How many people in the last 90 days told you the market was going to crash?
Yeah. You know what? Everybody on the damn news.
Completely agree.
Exactly right. Has the market crashed?
We're in Texas, brother.
Yeah.
I'm busier now than I was pandemic, post-pandemic. My volume, my per home sales price point has doubled.
I believe that.
So the market's not going anywhere. It's the agent that's going somewhere.
And it's because of that philosophy that you mentioned a while ago about I focus now for 6 months down the road, for 90 days down the road. I'm not looking for tomorrow. What I plant today is going to grow into what ends up I'm picking from in the future.
Let me add something to that. So, and I'll give you I know you've seen it, but just maybe something you hadn't thought about. A little snapshot or insight into like the world of like, a brokerage like our size, right? We have a pretty vibrant, group, and we have good attendance, and we have a lot of good things going on. But when all this came out, I cannot tell you how many of our agents reached out to me, called me, text me, or at the next office meeting, legitimately, like almost like your child would look at you for like major consulting on a major concern.
What are we going to do?
Jeff, are you going to talk about this at the next meeting? Can you please let us know how this is going to affect us?
Right.
And as you were saying what you were saying, and I'm, processing this, like there's so much onus on leaders today.
Yes.
To be good leaders and to provide factual data to keep everyone calm and not reactionary. That's right. And like you said, 60,000, whatever, I'm kind of like, hey man, if it's cloudy with a chance of meatballs, like, and this thing right now is going to be the thing that was the tipping point for you not to want to be a realtor, then so be it.
Fantastic.
I'm okay with that, but at the same time, going kind of back a little bit to the brokerage models and, let's have 1,000 agents, it's, et cetera, man, like there needs to be leadership.
Yeah.
There needs to be real, I don't want to say talking heads, but knowledgeable voices.
Absolutely.
Knowledgeable voices
with solid,
that are
honest
coming to their agents to with calm and understanding data and more understanding, because imagine if I, as a leader of my little, brokerage, was reactionary and telling them, sell as many houses as you can because we're about to lose our fucking jobs. Like we're going to be extinct in 6 fucking months. I guarantee there were leaders in San Antonio that said that.
I believe so.
And I know of two for sure.
I don't know who they are, but I have to know, like you said, because people, we can, crowd think, right? It's kind of the things that I was like, yeah, there has to have been other leaders. And they may not see themselves as that. That's another problem. When it says licensed supervisor or broker of record, that has to be important.
Correct.
And you cannot be a leader of all these other soon to be people, professionals and budding entrepreneurs and lead them astray and let them think it's okay to panic.
Right.
Like, come on, man. I used the example the other day, the Ford Pinto. Did cars get banned after that class action lawsuit because they were putting the gas tanks at the back and they were exploding with rear end collisions?
Right.
No. Did Ford go out of business? No. Did people no longer want to drive? No. It's tragic for anyone that lost their life with that bad piece of engineering, but that's how we as a society get better. We learn from poor design, from poor engineering, from poor execution, from poor blueprints, right?
That's right.
And so it made Ford have to get better, and it made the auto industry as a whole have to police better, right? Absolutely. That's kind of where I'm coming with like this might be our Ford Pinto moment.
Man.
I think it is.
Well, you look at the tech industry, you're talking about tech earlier, and you look at crowdthink and groupthink and how people respond, they're all reactionary. It starts at the top. Yes, and this is not to go into a political discussion, but we feed off of what we allow us to consume.
That's true.
And we don't think for ourselves anymore as a society. And that falls in line with real estate, falls in line with day-to-day life. We want to know, what do you think? Okay, that's what you think. That's what I'm going to do. No, stop doing that, because that's how you get your ass in this position in the first place in every level of society. I don't think like Shane and Clint. I do not do things like them at all. I don't do things like Kendall, our director of sales. I don't do things like our lead recruiter. I don't do things like other agents. I don't think for other people. I do things my way. I don't care if you tell me the market's going to crash. I can see for myself, it is not crashing.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Rates are high. Guess what? Rates aren't much higher than they were 10, 15 years ago. And guess what? In 2013, 14, the market bounced back like crazy.
That's right.
So before COVID, before 2.5% interest rates, which we'll never see again, 4.5%, 5% was pretty much industry standard.
That's right.
It never stopped anybody. Stop looking at what everybody else thinks and start focusing on your own damn business and your own mindset.
And I know all of us here, I can feel it. All of us are doubling down right now.
Damn right.
100%.
And we don't have to share all of our trade secrets here on this mic, but I know we're all doubling down.
We have to.
And if there's a young agent listening to this, hone in, lock in now while everyone else is panicking.
You know what? This has been a fantastic discussion. I'm going to invite you guys back for a different topic for sure, because I believe that this is one of the top discussions that I've had in here, to where we used facts, we used experiences. It wasn't just emotion and feelings and this crap. I believe there's plenty of nuggets that the folks listening can get out of this. We've covered everything from the verdict to the extinction of realtors, to brokers and the facade that they play to keep their nest egg to where it is without having to do more work and provide more value.
Licensing.
We've talked about evolution. Yep. I mean, jam-packed. So that being the case, I mean, shit, we're almost an hour and a half into this thing. I want to give you each an opportunity to speak your piece, whether it be something that you want to let current realtors know, brokers know, consumers know. And then I'll wrap it up with some final thoughts and put a bow on this thing, because this is a damn good one.
Yeah, for sure.
Chris, go ahead, brother.
I think this goes to consumers. This goes to current agents. This goes to agents that are thinking about getting out of the business. Stop believing everything you see.
Mm-hmm.
Focus on your business, focus on your home search, focus on the sell of your home. Make sure you hire someone that knows what they're doing, or make sure you go get a leader that knows how to lead.
That's right.
And grow within yourself. Stop worrying about social media. Stop worrying about trying to be an influencer. Stop worrying about trying to be pretty. It ain't just about the ladies, it's the guys too. Stop worrying about the flash. Because I tell people all day long, we played volleyball, whatever. It's not the splash play. Oh yeah.
Let's go.
It's not the splash plays to score points. It's the fundamentals.
Yeah.
It's knowing what you got to do. I will score more points at almost 40 years old, just popping it down, than you will trying to spike it.
That's right.
So focus on the task at hand, sit down, prospect the right way, lead generate the right way, focus on your clients, focus on your leaders, focus on your peers.
Yeah.
Do the right thing. If you do the right thing and you do your job the right way, there ain't a damn thing going to happen out of this lawsuit to you or anybody else around you. But if you want to fuck off and you want to play the game and you want to be cute and you want to be an influencer, you're the first one that's going to wash out. And don't call me to help you, because I'm not going to.
Or maybe that's the reason you're already out.
Yeah, or on 1 foot out already, potentially. Yeah.
So what's up, Jeff?
Man, I'll just, for me, it's kind of like, so I was a social worker before
I was that.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm talking like juvenile probation officer,
used to whoop people's ass.
Investigator with child protective services. Like,
just kidding.
I used to do all kinds of stuff. Right. And so, I've always said this, like, if you want to be in real estate, and if you are in real estate, there could not be a better day than now, today, if you are willing to put people's problems first. Because as long as we are dealing with people's problems, we will all be able to put food on our table.
That's right.
And how much food we put and what kind of table and what zip code and what address that table's on at, that's a different story, because that's going to be determined on heart, hustle, dedication, commitment, accountability, a lot of the things that we all probably know
that's right.
to be in our DNA today as entrepreneurs and business owners, right? But I've also always told people, it's okay if you love money and you want to make a lot of money, because in real estate, you can't do it without learning how to help people.
That's right.
And it's okay if you want to come to real estate because you're all about people. Because if you can figure out how to crack the code with people, a byproduct of cracking the code with people is you can make a shit ton of money, whether it's 6% or 5% or 4% or 3% or 2% or whatever, and I think agents need to just chill out. I think leaders do need to be calm voices for our industry, for the marketplace. And I think agents need to want to be professional.
Yeah.
And if they're willing to commit to being a professional, they're going to do just fine. And so kind of like you're saying, like, man, if you just want to come in here and, do a couple of Instagram reels and I don't know, like, I don't even know what that does per se, but, just make yourself feel some sort of way about it. Like, man, real estate's not a rap video, man. Like, it's just not. It's just not, man. Like, I'll end with this. I always teach all the time that real estate happens because of this, and it's real. Death, disease, divorce, job loss, job transfer, and change in family dynamic. That will be in one of my books one day. Okay?
I love that.
The only people that transact in real estate for fun are investors.
That's right.
That's it. So if you think that you're going to come and be in a show and be some sort of influencer and be the next reality star, man, like, get the fuck, like, come on, man, get fucking real.
Yeah.
Like, pray to God or whoever you pray to that that he can deliver you a family that needs you badly tomorrow.
Man.
Going through disease, a family that is divorcing, and both people need respect.
Right.
And both people need a little bit of love, because they're going through a real fucked up time. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I do.
That's what I believe. That's me. Like,
no, and I love
that's what we are about. That's how we do what we do.
That's
you know
why
what I'm saying? So,
you are who you are, my friend.
I did win San Antonio Board of Realtors
#1
Broker of the Year, and that is wild to me. That's a whole different show. But that's wild.
Hit you yet,
that's wild to me, man. I told the company the other day. I said, I have, in 10 years, I've never volunteered on a committee ever at Sabor. So I guess it's not political.
No.
I guess the voice of maybe our agents was heard. I don't really know, to be quite honest. I don't know how that works.
Well,
I know we got nominated. I know that.
Has a lot to do with you putting your head down and doing what you say you're going to do.
Stay
the course.
Keep the main thing.
That's it.
So anyways, yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you for laying it all out there. I mean, it's not easy to be honest on a discussion like this and bring to the table what you have today. Those out there listening, I called this key factors for a reason, and I'm hoping that you can play and replay this discussion so that you can pull out all the key factors that were discussed within this. There is a big philosophy of those that get into our industry to make a bunch of money. I'll be honest, back in 2012, I did the same thing. And it was a point in time in my career early on, I'm talking first year and a half into the business, that I realized the more people that I help, the more money I'll make. And then I fell in love with helping people. And I think the sooner that you understand and realize that we are problem solvers, and we are there to provide solutions, education, and value to our customers, the quicker you can get on board with this train that's leaving the station, because evolution is changing our industry, and it's going to change it quickly. I think the message for this episode, this discussion, has a lot to do with adapt, evolve, to overcome. So, again, gentlemen, I appreciate you coming on, having this discussion. I definitely want to have you both back on a different topic. But those of you out there, if you're getting something out of this, make sure to like, subscribe, share it with a friend. You can also listen to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any other podcast platform that you see fit. But until the next one, we'll catch you later.